a major economic center with more than 7 million residents, an international financial hub. Does that match with volcanic eruption threat? Guys, there is a huge city that looks at a mountain ridge where they think this has been a non-active volcano for the last 6,000 years and nothing is going to happen. But guys, it seems something will happen. New studies, the scientists have found signs of unrest and signs of magma rising to the top. And they have found like a straw that is giving a path to the surface. And this major financial hub is only 15 kilometers, roughly 10 miles away from the eruption center. I mean, you should expect that if you see fumaroles, but I'm not talking about Campi Flegrei, the supervolcano in Naples that has huge signs of unrest, where scientists are warning that over 6 million people in Naples might face an eruption soon. If you're interested in that, check out my playlist or the video in the end screen. I am talking about Asia, and maybe you have figured it out by now, guys. Taiwan, and the city that I'm talking about is Taipei. So imagine that. And you know, just in Iceland, 2023, November, they thought that a volcanic system that has been dormant for over 800 years would remain dormant until the volcanic eruption started to threat their cities, their critical infrastructure, and their number one money maker and tourist hub, the Blue Lagoon. And since 23, we have eruptions every few months or so, and they had to build defense walls so that the city would not be buried underneath lava. Some homes have been burned, but here, we're not talking about a fissure eruption in Taipei. We're talking about a stratovolcanic eruption. So there, this is a different animal. And with a major hub with more than 7 million people so close by, guys, I hope you agree with me that we need to look into what the scientists found, because again, it's groundbreaking. So stay with me. And I have something to ask you. There's a new function in YouTube. You can hype a video. If you see the hype button somewhere underneath my video, please press it. It helps me to promote my channel. Thank you for that. And of course, don't forget to like and to subscribe. Let's look into this study, into these investigations that are ongoing, because the researchers have discovered, guys, underground changes in the Taton volcanic group. Have you ever heard about that? It's could be that an eruption is imminent. We know Taiwan is making headlines, frequent earthquakes. That is already concerning enough. This year alone, there have been more than 100 earthquakes with magnitudes, listen, over 4.0. Over 100 earthquakes with 4.0. There are theories that if you have a certain amount of one magnitude, if you have lots of force, for example, you could see a 5. We're dealing with the Pacific Ring of Fire, our friend with the most volcanic eruptions, with the most earthquakes in the world. We know this guy pretty well. I've just reported about Kamchatka. Strange things going on again. The earthquakes have triggered another volcano again. But volcanic eruptions are not a geologic reality on Taiwan. They don't have frequent volcanic eruptions. This is not something that they suspect or that they're used to, not like in Japan. The most recent eruption in Taiwan is quite a long time ago. It happened in 1853. So nobody alive has any experience with that. And it wasn't on the main island. It was an island off the coast of the northeast coast of Taiwan that became active in 1853. It's an island volcano with the name Kueshantu. But the current investigations, the center of the current investigations was not this island, guys, but the Taton volcanic group. And group sounds scary because it's quite a few craters. And it's near the capital of Taiwan, Taipei. The last confirmed eruption of this volcanic group, of the Taton group, occurred 6,000 years ago, although there are some speculations that the most recent activity could be only 1,350 years ago, but very long ago from a human perspective. So now, since 2019 already, the scientists have recorded and have found an unusual increase in seismic activity right underneath the Taton volcanic group. So that is usually an indication that something might be on the move. They have used this discovery, so to speak, as a starting point for further investigations to rule out, could this be tectonic? Could this be anything else? Could this be the normal seismic activity? Or is this really related to this volcanic group that hasn't done anything for so long? And this was crucial that they did this because of the proximity to Taipei. That's why since 2003, they started to more closely monitor this array of at least 20 craters. They have installed a 40 broadband station, and they have detected many micro-earthquakes at Taton. And in general, the volcanic seismic activity is concentrated around the administrative boundary between Taipei and New Taipei City, as you can see in this graphic, figure 1. Between 2014 and 2018, we had more than 1,000 earthquakes at shallow depth between 0 and 2 kilometers, right underneath the Diokeng Fumarole, where their fuse is. And if you look at figure 2, it shows you the temporal variations of monthly seismicity at the Taton volcanic group between 2014 and 2021. And we see what that curve does, right? But from 2019 onward, the seismic activity has increased even more. So the total number of volcanic earthquakes has increased significantly, especially the larger earthquakes above magnitude 3, and that is a lot for a volcano. And what the scientists are saying, what is particularly intriguing, that the increase in earthquakes since 2019 happened at the same time when they discovered a significant increase in seismic velocity, both underneath the Diokeng Fumarole and the Mount Chizin areas. So that was the strongest observed increase since 2003. To make that more clear for you guys, I want you to look at figure 1 of the study that really outlines how close Taipei to the volcano. The Taton volcano group, TVG, is located at the northern tip of Taiwan. That is what you see here in this graphic, and it is directly linked to the Taipei metropolitan area that is home to over 7 million people across the cities of Taipei and New Taipei. And the horizontal distance from Mount Chizin that we're dealing with here, the highest peak, by the way, in this TVG group, and likely the site of its most recent eruption as well, and the coming eruption, to the Taipei 101 skyscraper that everyone knows. That distance to that skyscraper in downtown Taipei is less than 15 kilometers, less than 10 miles. In fact, we also have to take into account that some areas are even closer, so much closer. The northernmost parts of Taipei City, including the Baitu and Shilin districts, they partially overlap with the volcanic group. They overlap. So as a result, Taipei city, like the city of Naples in Italy, or Auckland in New Zealand, or Cartago in Costa Rica. Taipei can be considered one of the major cities located on a volcano. They have used seismic tomography and seismic imaging, and they have discovered something. They have discovered something very concerning. It's, how can I say, imagine you have a magma chamber and you put a straw in it that would let the magma out. We recently have discovered something like this at Campi Flegrei, by the way. But this here is even larger. So they discovered something and they were like, whoa, really? What is this? Let's have a closer look. And when they had a closer look, it got more concerning. Underneath the Chisin volcano that is part of this group, they found the formation or the enlargement of a fluid upwelling channel. I call this straw. Fluid upwelling, that means fluid can get towards the surface. And in addition, there's a fumarole. For those of you who watch my Campi Flegrei videos, you know what that means. This is this hot steam, gas emitting, hot steam vent. There's a very well-known fumarole. It's called Diokeng. And guess where they found this straw? Right underneath. Right underneath. So you have to imagine, you have that magma that wants to come to the surface, and then you hire a few miners that take dynamite and they build a tunnel right down there. This is basically what they discovered. And it's long. It goes down to a depth of at least 4 kilometers, 2.7 miles. So it goes very deep. And if that wasn't enough, this enlargement of the upwelling channel, it's getting larger, is accompanied by an increase in pressure in the production system / the magmatic plumbing system of the volcano. Increase in pressure, guys, and a straw that leads to the surface. But the scientists, when they started looking at that, they searched for more, and they did find more, guys. They did find more. And again, 7 million people just 10 miles away from this. In addition, the scientists found another large-scale anomaly at shallow depth between only 3 to 4 kilometers, like 2.5 miles. They found it in the form of deviating earthquake wave velocities. If there's a magma body or a body filled with fluid or something, if you look at how seismic waves travel, you can see a different pattern if you have a magma body or anything else, gas, liquid, other than solid rock. And that's how they could discover this. And they also have given us their interpretation of what they think that this is. And they think this is magma. They think this is a magma accumulation, a magma chamber from which the fluids are escaping towards through that fumarole. Magma at shallow depth, 3 to 4 kilometers, that is not much. And then they found a straw that goes down at a depth of 4 kilometers. So it's basically reaching this magma chamber. And we already have confirmation that something's leaking out because we have the fumarole there. I don't want to say this is groundbreaking because it is groundbreaking in the worst case scenario. So researchers believe that the volcano has been experiencing a period of unrest probably longer than 2019. They think the volcano is preparing for an eruption at least since 2014. And it is preparing for an eruption right now, most likely. So of course, you can't predict when an eruption will happen, and you can't predict the size of an eruption because this thing hasn't erupted in so long. They have no recorded data. But again, depending on the size of the eruption, the nearby metropolis of Taipei, so close to the foothills of this volcanic group, could very well be affected. So imagine this major financial hub has news that a volcanic group is erupting and is threatening the city. This can have an economic backlash of unknown dimensions. So the volcano could wreak havoc all around the world, not in the usual way by sending ash in the atmosphere and blocking air traffic or destroying crops or cooling down the planet. Of course, it can do that too, but it could have such a great effect on this major economic center. But of course, more importantly, the effects it could have on all the people that are living there that are not prepared that something like this could happen. Even without visible eruption in our recorded history, of course, there are signs that there is a volcano, especially with these fumaroles and the smell of sulfur that comes with it. And already in 2011, the agency that observes this volcanic group, the Taiwan Volcano Observatory at Taton, has raised concerns in 2011. They said growing concerns among scientists that this volcanic group might not be an extinct system. Because everybody thought, yeah, nice mountains, it's an extinct volcano, don't worry about it. They said in 2011, this could be potentially still active. Because they have done seismic imaging in the last decade, and that shows that magma is present. And now this new research basically reconfirms this theory, basically with striking clarity, because now we have 4D seismic tomography between the years 2014 up to now. And especially in 2018, it started to increase its activity significantly. What they could see is that the rock beneath the Mount Chichen volcano became more compact and rigid. And that is a sign of increasing pressure, rising internal pressure coming from magma. But this was not an isolated signal. And we know if a volcano is becoming more and more awakened, so to speak, we've seen it in Campi Flegrei, there are other signs. And so were the signs here: increased seismic activity and clustered swarms. So that confirms that the stress that is underground had reached the surface in form of these clustered earthquakes. So what they found here could be an early warning tool. This could give the city of Taipei an early warning instead of catching them by surprise completely. So the threat to Taipei is obvious and sobering, because a significant phreatic eruption already, like in Campi Flegrei, without magma involvement, could release ash, hot steam, toxic gases, and rock particles shooting out like bullets towards and across the capital. In minutes, without a warning. Phreatic eruptions usually don't give you a lot of warning time. Remember White Island, for example, in New Zealand. Of course, if we have a more serious magmatic eruption, we could deal with lava flows, pyroclastic flows, lahars, volcanic landslides that have a very far reach and they travel very, very far, very quickly. Explosive blasts that could devastate infrastructure and overwhelm emergency services because they're not prepared for something like this. Taipei, with all the skyscrapers, metro system, and super densely populated residential districts, is definitely amongst the least prepared major cities for something like this. They are not prepared to face a volcanic crisis at their doorstep. Nobody thought about this. Naples in Italy, over 6 million people. They have a long history of grappling with Vesuvius, with Campi Flegrei. Monte Nuovo was created in 1538. But they know that they're sitting between two pressure cookers. But Taipei's volcanic risk is not part of public awareness or any awareness campaigns. The immediate danger is life and property, but it goes beyond that because the critical financial hub for Asia, it's hosting stock exchanges, banks, global technology firms, microchip productions for all of us. A sudden eruption or even a prolonged seismic unrest would not only paralyze the city's daily life, it would ripple through global supply chains, the microchips that are in your freezer, in your fridge, in your cell phone, in your computer. Semiconductors. I always said it, and I think countries should have productions within their own borders. You never know what happens, right? Same goes for antibiotics, for example. Taiwan dominates the semiconductor production, and markets are very, very sensitive to risk perception. And the markets would react immediately within hours. They would tank. Then we come insurance liabilities, real estate values, trade confidence could collapse immediately. And that would produce an economic aftershock far beyond the borders of Taiwan. So now for investors and foreign governments, this volcanic group is not like a geological anomaly or curiosity. This is really a threat. It's a systemic risk hiding in plain sight, and it seems to be preparing. So I hope you liked this video, guys. If you did, like, share, subscribe, hype it. And check out the other videos, guys. Crazy stuff is going on all around the world. Thank you for watching. If you want to fill me up with coffee and support this channel, go to my buymeacoffee.com website. Link is in the description. Click the join button to become a supporting member for behind the scene videos. Thank you for your supers. Hello to everyone who just joined the channel. Thank you for being here. Thank you to everyone who has stuck with me for so long. Thank you, guys. And I see you in the next one. Just click here. Bye.